Hello, Biology B. Today's homework, you're going to be looking at the endocrine system. So you got 7 questions on your sheet. You can also use pages 997 to 1002. So the endocrine system is the second messenger system of the body. And we'll talk about the nervous system. The nervous system is really, as you're probably aware, your major messenger system. But you also have the endocrine system. Now, the difference is the endocrine system is what uses chemical messengers. Often, what you've heard are called hormones that are released into the blood and then travel to their specific cells to cause certain responses. So, the endocrine system, like I said, it really is to release hormones. It's a secondary messenger system. It controls many processes such as reproduction, growth and development. So when you hit puberty and your body starts to release different hormones, those hormones go and trigger parts of your body to grow, develop, mature. It also plays a part in your body defenses and getting those to mobilize. Um, it is very important in homeostasis, like we talked about. So when it sees different changes in your body where you're leaving that set point, it will release hormones, different glands will, to try and bring you back to that set point. And it regulates your metabolism, so how you build and break down food and other materials. So, all right, that's number one and two. So three and four is kind of interesting. So the two main messenger systems, even though we haven't talked about the nervous system, is your nervous system uses mostly electrical. Okay, so the nervous system uses electrical impulses, whereas the endocrine system uses hormones. So oftentimes, to give kids this understanding, we use the analogy that your nervous system, because it's fast acting, because it has this dedicated network of signals like nerves going all over your body, it's like email. So you type up an email, you hit send, almost immediately that information gets from you to the person that you are sending the email to, and it's very quick and fast and easy. The endocrine system, on the other hand, is kind of like the old general, what used now is referred to as snail mail, like sending a letter to someone. So you sit down, you write the letter, you address it, you stamp it, you put it in the mail, but it takes a little while for it to get there before the person gets the information. That's what happens with the endocrine system. Because it uses hormones, which have to be spread throughout the body by the blood and the circulatory system. It just takes longer. So the effects of the endocrine system are not seen as quickly as you see responses to the nervous system. So you put your hand on something hot, your nervous system is going to get information from the sensors in your fingers, and very quickly your brain is going to respond. When you get out of whack, like let's say a diabetic with their insulin, that's going to take longer for your body to respond and stuff like that. So like by the time your body senses that your blood sugar is low, and then it releases hormones which have to travel to the cells to release more insulin, which then releases more of the glucose, like you learned about. All that takes a lot longer. It's not as fast as the nervous system. All right. So what are glands? There are really two types of glands. So glands is it can be a single cell or any collection of cells that secrete these chemicals. Okay, and it can be any kind of chemical. You have what are called exocrine and endocrine glands. So the exocrine means exit, outside. So they secrete into ducts. They go into these ducts, which then go other places, essentially other than the bloodstream. Endocrine glands secrete chemicals, especially mainly hormones, into the bloodstream. Um, so the main difference, if you think about it, really has to do with, are they secreting the chemicals into the blood that would make it an endocrine gland, or are these glands excreting them like your sweat glands or something like that into a duct that goes to another part of the body? All right. So hormones. Hormones are produced by specialized cells. They are transferred in the blood to what are called target sites or target cells. And hormones essentially regulate the activity of other cells. They're chemical messengers. So the hormones aren't really causing the change in terms of doing the actual work that makes the change. what hormones do is they trigger the part of the body to secrete or do what you want it to do. So, for instance, you're going to learn like when your blood sugar drops, your pituitary gland is going to release a hormone that goes to the pancreas to tell it to release the insulin. It doesn't specifically go do the work itself. It's simply a messenger to tell what other part of the body what they need to do. And how does the endocrine system do this? How do hormones do this? Well, just like when we learned about enzymes, your cells have those receptors on them, and there are all sorts of different receptors. So hormones can only affect what are called target cells or organs. These target cells have these specific receptors that only certain hormones can bind to. So like if you look at hormone A, which is circular, it could only go to the target cell that has that receptor. If it came over to like say this cell, it right here, it's not going to be able to bind, so therefore it's not going to be able to trigger a response in that cell because it's like a lock and key mechanism, just like the enzymes. So control of hormone release, right, is all about negative feedback. So as one goes higher or lower, then the hormones get released, which trigger the response to bring you back to where you should be. Okay, so last then we're going to look at the pituitary gland, and there are several glands in the endocrine system that in honors bio or anatomy and phys, or if you decide to go on with this, then you'll learn more about these. The main gland of the endocrine system, though, is called the pituitary gland. It's actually referred to as the master gland. And the reason it's the master gland is it's a small, tiny little gland that's right down in the middle of your brain, right there. So this would be like they have cross-sectioned the brain or cut it in half, and you can see here's the brain stem and the cerebellum. That little white dot is your pituitary gland. And essentially, as your brain gets feedback from your body, then from your receptors, if it needs to do release hormones or respond in that way, then the brain will essentially give information to this pituitary gland, and then the pituitary gland is what then triggers all of the other endocrine glands. So it's kind of like the CEO or boss of the company, which is going to tell all the other glands, which might be like managers, what to do in their departments. So if it has to do with growth and development, the brain essentially tells the pituitary gland that you need to release more, like let's say testosterone, and then it will release hormones that travel through the bloodstream down to the cells that do that, and then they'll trigger those cells to release more testosterone. One of the other main ones too people sometimes ask about is like the thyroid gland, which sits kind of in your neck. A lot of people have issues with the thyroid gland because it regulates energy and metabolism. So if they're having a lot of trouble with like weight gain and stuff like that, or they're just very lethargic all the time, a lot of times they'll do a test of your thyroid gland, and your thyroid gland could be having a problem where it's not releasing a lot of the hormones to regulate your metabolism and give you the energy and the thing, what you need to stay healthy. So then you just go on medications, which are essentially taking the hormones that your thyroid gland is underproducing or not producing at all. Same kind of thing where you get into like you have your thymus, which helps with fight disease. If you look at some of these, you can see a lot of these. Your adrenal gland, which is what does a lot of things. They'll sit on top of the kidneys. They secrete things that release adrenaline for the fight or flight response. They have a lot to do with blood pressure and all sorts of stuff. So, but the main one you need to know is the pituitary gland. It's in the brain, and it essentially controls all the other ones. All right, have a good day.